Hi guys, Phil McGilvray here from Grandma's Jars. Thank you for joining us. Today we're continuing on with our 10-part series or 10 tutorial series, our top 10 tips for paying off debt. And today we're really getting stuck into the nitty-gritty. This is the sixth session or sixth tutorial, and we're looking at the actual strategy behind developing a debt repayment plan. I've called this particular tutorial the smallest debt first. But what I'm going to give you is a real overview of the whole debt repayment process. So what I've got is an example from a client that I was working with just last night. So hopefully that's going to make it a lot easier for you to understand. What we got him to do is the first point of call is, okay, let's throw it all out there. How much debt you have? What are those debts? And so we've listed them all down here. Now, with this process, it's really important that we know everything, that we've got all the debts. And sometimes we're a bit fearful of what we're going to see, and so we sort of ignore it and we put it off because we're a bit scared about it. And it's like when I ask people to set up a budget, they've got to go and get a real comprehensive understanding of all of their expenses. And people are scared to do that because they don't know what they're going to see and they're fearful of it. But once they've actually got through that process, they've put it all down on paper, sometimes it's a huge relief because at least once we know what all our expenses are, or in this case, what all our debts are, at least we can do something about it. So it's not just, what you owe the bank. If you owe money to grandma or some friends or something like that, make sure you put it all down there because sometimes it's those loans to friends and relatives that bug us the most, and therefore we need to deal with it. But in this case, we've got ourselves down here 6 loans, starting with the speeding fine, which was $294, down to the home loan, which is a very reasonable $243,000 by today's standards. So we've listed them all there, and what we've then done is we've listed the balance owing on each debt and the current repayments on each debt. Now, the current repayments are what the client's currently paying, so what he's choosing to pay. The next column is actually the minimum. So this is what the institutions actually require of him, but what he's choosing to do is pay more. And you can see on the Visa card and the MasterCard, he's actually choosing to pay a little bit more than what he needs to. Same with the personal loan and with the home loan. And look, that's good. There's $483 there, difference between those two. And obviously when we're trying to pay off debt, we do try and pay more than the absolute minimum. However, I'd suggest to you that this doesn't really work. Taking this scattergun approach can be a very demoralizing way to try and pay off your debt. A little bit here, a little bit there. You never actually see any real significant change in any of the debts, and people very quickly become a bit demoralized by the whole process. So what I'm going to suggest that we do is something completely different. Now, what we've got the client to do is list all these debts from smallest to largest, and we're going to tackle the smallest debt first. So the smallest debt in this instance is $294. Now, most people would say, well, why wouldn't you tackle the biggest debts or the ones with the highest interest rates first? Mathematically, they're absolutely correct. The problem is when it comes to paying off debt, mathematical doesn't seem to count for much. What really matters is behaviour and sense of self-belief and confidence in the system that you're using. And most people, when they don't see the progress, it's very easy to slip back into old habits and just to go, oh, look, it's all too hard. So what we want to try and do, and this is what we've successfully been doing for the last 15 years, is help people get little wins on the board really quickly so our self-confidence sort of rises. We believe that we can actually do it. So in this instance, we're going to tackle this $294 first. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to pay the absolute minimum on all of our other debts, which, as I said, frees up $483. That $483 we're then going to throw, plus the $60 minimum, we're going to throw at the speeding ticket. Now, you can see that obviously the speeding ticket is only $294, so we'll have that knocked off in month 1. What we also have is another $250 available that we can use to pay off the MasterCard here. So in month 1, speeding ticket's gone and MasterCard has been reduced by $250. Now, the really good thing about that is you can see that $60 that we were paying for the speeding fine now becomes available to channel towards the second debt. The second debt, therefore, will also be gone in another 2 months. So inside inside 3 months, we will have knocked off the speeding ticket and we will have knocked off the MasterCard. That sort of progress really gets people excited because they can see it actually happening. There's a big difference between having a debt completely gone and a debt slightly reduced, which is what the scattergun approach does. Now, when we sat down with this client and we built a month-by-month repayment plan that actually showed him just how quickly each of these debts would come down, because even as we're focusing on these smaller debts up here, there's still, you can see built into the personal loan and the car loan, there's still a component of principal that's being paid down each month. So even before we get to those debts are getting slightly smaller. And we figured that we would actually be able to get rid of all of these 5 loans within 18 months with this client with a bit of focus. And that really got him excited, especially when we had it on paper and he could see month by month the progress and he could tick it off as he went along. And having it on paper in front of you is a hugely powerful process, because when you can see the finish line, when you can see how it's all going to happen, all of a sudden the impossible seems possible, and we can achieve much greater things than we ever thought. Now, this client was amazed that he could get rid of all this debt in 18 months because he'd been struggling with it for the last couple of years and really made no progress. And when we showed him just how quickly this could be paid off, he was excited about that. But what he was really excited about was in 18 months we have all of this gone, but he'll also have about $1,200 surplus a month because he's no longer paying the interest and repayment on these debt that he can throw off his home loan. And when we did the sums on paying off his home loan here, we realised that he'd be able to pay that off inside 15 years instead of 30 years, inside 15 years, and he would save himself something like $168,000 in interest in the process, which was huge. You know, who wouldn't want the $168,000 instead of the bank? So look, that's a process. It's really simple. We have these worksheets on our website. If you want to download them, please feel free. And as always, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to post a question on our forum or contact us via our contacts page.